I am your host and you are watching Behind the Crime. It was a humid evening in Lucknow. Rickshaws slowed at traffic lights, vendors folded their carts, and the last prayer from the mosque faded into the warm air. Inside a small blue house at the end of street number 14th, a mother counted footsteps that never came. Her daughter's name was Mira, and tonight she was supposed to return with a secret. Mira was 22, quiet eyes, a smile that hid courage. She worked at a tailoring shop near Ahmedabad, stitching dreams into other people's wedding lehengas. That's where she met Kabir. He came to collect his sister's dress, polite, soft-spoken, a little restless. Their first conversation was about color threads. Their second was about trains, the third about freedom. In the months that followed, Kabir would wait by the pawn shop at dusk. He would walk two steps behind her, careful, respectful. One day I'll come to ask for your hand, he promised. They won't agree, she whispered. Then we'll write our own story, he said, eyes shining like someone who believed in miracles. At home, Mira's father discussed proposal with strangers over tea. A teacher from Kanpur, good family, no nonsense, he would say. Mira's mother watched her, helpless. She knew the look in her daughter's eyes, the same look she once had, before she learned to fold her heart like a dupatta and keep it in the trunk. Mira started keeping a small diary under her mattress. Dates, times, tiny promises. On June 3, a line read, he says love is a road. I hope there's light at the end. Kabir planned everything. A bus to Faizabad at 9:40 p.m., a lodge near the old sugar mill, cheap, anonymous. Next morning, a small temple by the river, two garlands, a red thread, a forever kind of promise. Are you sure? Mira asked on the phone, fingers trembling. I'm sure of you, he replied. We'll have a small room, morning sunlight, and a plant on the window. I'll work double shifts. You can stitch from home. We'll be together. That evening, Mira packed lightly. Two kurtas, her diary, a pair of silver anklets, and red glass bangles wrapped in newspaper. She wrote a note. Ma, forgive me. I'll call when things are safe. I promise I'll make you proud. She placed it under the sugar jar and stepped into the night. The bus smelled of diesel and rain-soaked clothes. Mira sat by the window. Kabir sat beside her, nervous smile, eyes darting to the door every few minutes. Outside, the city's noise turned into long stretches of whispering fields and sleeping villages. Mira leaned her head on the glass. Tomorrow I'll be your wife, she said, half shy, half brave. Kabir nodded, but his jaw tightened, as if the word tomorrow was heavier than it sounded. They reached the lodge near midnight. A flickering tube light hummed near the reception. The manager barely looked up. Room 17 smelled of old paint and damp dreams. Mira took out her red bangles and slipped them on one by one. Kabir watched silent. His phone vibrated again and again on the table. Dozens of messages, one after another. He turned it face down. Everything okay? Mira asked. Yes, everything okay, he said too quickly. Tomorrow we'll start fresh. They had samosas from a polythene bag and drank water from a shared bottle. Mira laughed about the future, a steel almirah, a pressure cooker, a cheap bicycle, vegetables bought together on Sundays. Kabir nodded, but his eyes were on the door, as if listening for footsteps no one else could hear. At 2:10 a.m., the electricity went off. The room sank into a hot, whispering darkness. Mira curled beside him. Are you scared? He inhaled sharply. No, just thinking. About what? A pause heavy like thunder. About the cost of love. Mira sat up confused. Kabir. He turned his phone face up. Dozens of messages from an unknown number. One finally caught her eye. Money first or forget the plan. Her voice trembled. What is this? Kabir swallowed. I borrowed for us, for the room, the bus, some papers. I thought I could fix it after. How much? Enough to make tomorrow impossible? Silence. Then Mira whispers like a plea to the night. We'll work. We'll return every rupee. Just don't lie to me again. Something softened in his face, then hardened. There's another problem, he said. Your cousin saw us. He called your father. They'll be here by morning. And the man I owe, he wants his money tonight. Mira's fingers tightened around her bangles. The glass sang a fragile sound. Let's go to the police, Mira said. And say what? That we ran away. That I owe a man who breaks bones for a living. We'll tell them the truth, Kabir. We'll tell them we love each other. He let out a small, broken laugh. Truth doesn't feed debt. Truth doesn't stop men who come at night. His phone rang again. A message blinked. Last chance. Behind the mill. Come alone. Kabir stood, grabbed his keys. Stay here. I'll fix it. Mira held his wrist. No more secrets. I'm coming with you. He looked at her, eyes red. Hope ruined. Mira, sometimes love is a boat, and sometimes it's the river that takes it. They walked through a narrow lane to the old sugar mill, the kind of place that keeps people's screams long after they are gone. Rusted machines loomed like sleeping giants. Water dripped from broken pipes. A stray dog barked and ran. A figure stepped out from the shadows, broad shoulders, heavy breath. Money? The man asked. Kabir shook his head. Give me a week. Tonight, the man said, or something else of value. His eyes flicked toward Mira. Kabir's hands shook. Don't touch her. The man smiled without warmth. Then pay. Mira stepped between them. Take my anklets, my bangles. We'll pay the rest just. The man snatched that anklets, wedged them in his palm, then tossed them back. Not enough. Something broke inside Kabir. He turned to Mira with a look she had never seen. Fear mixed with fury, love strangled by helplessness. I told you to stay, he said, voice low. We are together, she replied. We chose this. The man took a step closer. Mira moved back. Her bangle caught on a rusted nail. A sharp crack cut the air. Red glass scattered on the concrete like small wounded stars. In the chaos that followed, shouting, footsteps, a brief struggle, Kabir shoved the man away and grabbed Mira's arm. Run! They stumbled through the mill toward the dark water tank behind the shed. Rain began again, thin at first, then heavy. Mira slipped. Kabir caught her, then saw the man coming faster. Please, Kabir, Mira whispered. Let's go to the police. Let's go home. Say we are sorry. Just don't let this night decide our fate. Kabir looked at her like a man standing on a broken bridge. Behind him, debt, shame, men who don't forgive. In front of him, love asking to be saved. Something inside him chose the easiest exit. He covered Mira's mouth. Shh, just for a moment. Her eyes widened, not with anger, but with disbelief. She clawed at his wrist, tried to speak. Kabir don't, but the rain swallowed her words. His hands tightened. Fear, panic, foolishness. turning into a single, irreversible act. The word went quiet. Then the rain kept falling. Kabir stood shaking, staring at his hand as if they belonged to someone else. I didn't mean, he whispered to the night, to the rust, to the broken glass at his feet. The man in the shadows stepped forward, eyes cold. Now you owe me silence too. They dragged her to the old tank where water collected like forgotten prayers. A red bangle floated, then sank, leaving only ripples. At dawn, the city yawned awake. Tea boiled, newspapers thumped against doors. In the small blue house, Mira's mother found the note under the sugar jar and screamed a sound that broke the vase. Police sirens cut through the lanes. Officers searched the lodge, the bus stop, and finally the mill. A constable found a shard of red glass near the tank. Another found anklet marks in the mud, small frantic half moons. By afternoon, they pulled Mira from the dark water. Her hair dangled with dead leaves, her eyes half open, as if still waiting to finish a sentence. Kabir sat on the mill steps, hands shaking, lips bloodless. When the inspector asked, "Where is she?" Kabir pointed without looking. "I loved her," he said. The inspector's face hardened. "Then why are you here? And she is not." Kabir broke, words stumbling, excuses dying mid-air. Kabir broke, words stumbling, excuses dying mid-air. He spoke of depth, of threats, of a night that rained faster than his courage. The inspector didn't raise his voice. Love is not a defense. At the station, Mira's mother arrived with a small tin box. Inside lay another set of red bangles. She bought to her mother, whispers, one for the wedding, one for the first festival at her new home. She placed the box on the table, hands trembling. "Keep it. Let it remind you. Some things are meant to be worn for a lifetime, not for a night." Kabir stared at the bangles as if they were a mirror showing him the life he could have chosen. The court was crowded the day the judge read the sentence. Words like murder, intent, no excuse filled the air. Kabir didn't defend himself. He only asked for one thing. "Give her mother the plant I kept by my window. It still needs sunlight." Outside, the sky turned the color of old brushes. The city moved, because cities always do. But in street number 14th, the blue house kept a chair empty at dinner. A threadbare dupatta hung by the window, unmoving. Sometimes at dusk, neighbors swore they heard glass bangles shimmering in the lane, soft, apologetic, and gone.